This is Paul Edwards, Director of the Program on Science, Technology, and Society at Stanford University, as well as the co-director of the Stanford Existential Risk Initiative. Today, we'll be asking him some questions about existential risk.
Well, I think of it as a continuum. I mean, you can imagine a catastrophe like an earthquake. It's a catastrophic risk, but it's local. Then we have global catastrophic risks, which would be things like nuclear war, massive pandemics, and climate change. Then there are existential risks, which are really threats to the future of humanity, at least to a good and thriving future of humanity. And the worst form of existential risk is an extinction risk where everyone would die. So that's the basic continuum. I think there are a lot of different ways to think about each one of those, but I tend to focus on the global catastrophic risks and the existential risks in a slightly narrower sense than everyone dies. I've been writing and teaching about climate change for 30 years, and before that I did a lot of research on the history of nuclear weapons, command and control of nuclear weapons. So today I do most of my teaching about climate change and other environmental problems which are linked. And that's part of the kind of threat I see in our future is that climate change is not just a matter of temperature and sea level rise, but also of a lot of related environmental threats, pollution of all types, chemicals, nitrogen and phosphorus pollution in the water, many others. Well, that's what I think, but again, it really needs to be a broader frame than just climate change. Climate change is terrible and it's going to have lots of damaging effects on our civilization, but it's also related to and driving extinction of other species. We've made hundreds of thousands, if not millions of other species extinct already just in the last 200 years, and the more we destroy habitat, change the climate conditions under which other organisms have to survive, and pollute their environment with all kinds of toxins, the more of those species we're going to extinguish, and we need them in order to survive because they perform all kinds of services for us, like pollination, food, everything that we need from the natural world has a relation to ecology, and we're slowly but surely destroying global ecosystems on a massive scale. So the first thing is to educate yourself and really understand the severity of what we're facing. I mean, in addition to climate change, there's the risk of nuclear war and the risk of pandemics, and we've just been through one. We're actually still in a global pandemic. So, learning about what kinds of threats are out there, but then trying to do something about it, that feels very difficult for individuals, but actually there's a lot that an individual can do. You can, in terms of climate change, you can reduce or stop consuming meat. That has a big impact. You can reduce the amount of flying you do or stop altogether. Take public transportation, shift to an electric vehicle, whether that's a car or a bicycle or a scooter, which are actually having a huge impact on the global carbon emissions. Well, I think climate is becoming very salient. Lots of people know about it and understand it now. The things that are less in the news, especially the risk of nuclear war, which could still be, probably wouldn't kill everyone, but it would certainly destroy a lot of the infrastructure in the northern hemisphere and poison many, many millions of people. So that's still a real risk, still could happen. A war between the US and Russia and the Ukraine situation that's happening now might bring that risk forward again. The other thing I think is less salient for most people is the possibility of kind of cascading pandemics. I mean, the COVID pandemic has weakened the immune systems of practically everyone on the planet. It's also caused brain damage for practically everyone on the planet, and repeated infections increase those phenomena. So, with weakened immune systems, we're more susceptible to the next pandemic, and the one after that, and the one after that, and they will not stop. So, starting to understand that and beginning to claw our way back to a better public health stance on pandemics, those are the things I think we really need to focus on. People are afraid. It is terrifying to think about these things, especially because some of them are so clearly real. I mean, they're not off in the future anymore. Climate change is already killing people and destroying homes and infrastructure all over the world. Pandemics, we've just been through one, we're still in one. So we know about these things, but the easy course is just to pretend they're not happening and look the other direction. That's what that movie Don't Look Up was about last year. So, I think that's that's one motivator that stops people thinking about these things. The other really big deal is that people are just built to think mainly about the short term and their own self-interest. It's natural. It's how we're made. So thinking about things that might not develop for even a year or 2 years or 10 years is much harder to do than thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow or next week. So people don't focus on the ways that what they do today is going to affect them in a year or 10 years or 100 years. So we've been teaching that class since 2019. It's had a huge population of students move through it. About last year we were about 180 students, and I feel great about that because we reached many of them. Probably not everyone came away from it with eyes wide open, but many did, such as you, Eric. And so I think it's part of what we're trying to do with this class, which is for freshmen only, is kind of build awareness among an entire generation of college students who might then take classes that teach them more about these things and head into careers, which could be nearly anything, where they focus on trying to help mitigate some of those risks. I'll tell you very honestly that I am not optimistic about the future of climate and environment issues. I think our politics is too stuck and too broken, and the power of the lobbies for the fossil fuel industry and many other industries that are responsible for climate change is so enormous that it's just really hard to get past it. And we have a whole global south that needs energy, and the easy way to get that, the cheap way to get that, is still oil, gas, and coal. So I'm not seeing us pulling up out of that fast enough, and I'm worried about tipping points that will lead us to a state where there's runaway climate change that we can't control at all. So on that score, I'm not very optimistic. We have seen a lot of success in the past at reducing the numbers of nuclear weapons. So I think that's a success story and can be even more successful in the future. I think once the Putin era has passed and hopefully we get a more rational Russian leader, we might be able to do another round of reduction of nuclear weapons, which would be great. And on pandemics, I think the record is pretty poor. We didn't do a great job with COVID, and the backlash has been so severe that it seems like we won't be able to do much about the next pandemic either. But public health learns, and people maybe learned something from this pandemic and might be ready to do better in the next time.